Here's a problem I see with almost every SaaS company I work with. They're stuck between two extremes of their messaging. Either they're so focused on their unique vision that customers don't understand what they're selling, or they sound so much like competitors that there's nothing distinctive about what they do. The other day, I was listening to the founder of Notion talk about this, and he said, too much of yourself, then there's no users. You're just doing art projects. You're just doing a research project. And too much for business, you're getting a commodity. And he's right, but there's one thing that a lot of companies miss, which is they think they either have to choose one or the other. Hey, I'm Chris, and if you don't know me, I'm the founder and chief conversion copywriter at Conversion Alchemy. After working with dozens of B2B SaaS companies, I found that there's actually a sweet spot where these two things come together. Let me show you how I think about this problem and the simple framework I use with my clients to help them find that perfect balance. This has helped companies I work with clarify their messaging in a way that stays true to their unique vision, while at the same time connecting with what customers actually need. Let's dive in. As we said, the way that I see this is not really as a spectrum. So it's not really that you have to choose between one or the other. The way that I see it is more as a matrix. So I call it the messaging strategy matrix. And we have 4 quadrants and these 2 axes, right? So on one axis, we have market alignment. On the other one is the personal point of view. What is the point of view? Point of view is simply the insight, what you know about the market, the competition, your customers, or the types of product that in general is not as often talked about. And it's something, typically it's what the founder used that spurred the product idea, or maybe an insight into the market or what competitors were doing that sparked the idea to build that product for them. Market alignment, what do I mean by that? It's simply how well or how badly you are matching what your customers want or what your customers are thinking about when they land on the page with your messaging, with your copy. So in our 4 quadrants, we have low market alignment and low personal point of view. This is the wandering in the desert. This is when your messaging is confusing and neither expresses your vision, your point of view, nor meets the market needs. The second quadrant, your vision without audience. This is when there's a really good founder vision, but the company fails to translate that into why that is valuable for the market. And between all of these 4 quadrants, obviously there's infinite points in between, right? So it's not that you can have a strong point of view, low market alignment. Maybe your point of view is strong, but could be stronger. So there's all points in between. Third quadrant, we have the commodity trap. So this is where you check all market boxes, but you don't really have a distinctive point of view. You understand customers, you know what they're thinking about, but you're blending in. The 4th quadrant, so this is the sweet spot that I was mentioning. This is when you have an authentic, unique perspective that actually also resonates with the market and what the market needs and what the market wants. So this way, I think it's easier to pinpoint where you're at currently and what you need to do to change that. And there's different challenges for different stages, right? So let's look at those. There's challenges at the early stage. A lot of the early stage companies that I see, even though I don't work with a lot of early stage companies, they have a lot of vision. So the point of view might be very strong. And this is because they just started out and it was a trigger for them to start the company, but not enough customer understanding. This is also obviously because they might not have a lot of customers. They might not have run a lot of customer research. So in general, they lack that understanding, empathy with customers. Then there are challenges at the growth stage. Obviously, sometimes scale brings commoditization, right? So as you try and scale your marketing, your product efforts, you tend to blend in with what everyone else is doing, just because the focus is more on optimizing, scaling revenue rather than actually differentiating, just because you already have your own kind of position. So you tend to veer towards commoditization, which is you're basically growth stage, you're here, but you tend towards the 3rd quadrant here, the commodity trap. And then for established players, as you grow and you've established yourself, Sometimes you tend to lose touch with your strong, unique, differentiated point of view, that insight, because maybe leadership changes, the team gets bigger, there's a lot of silo departments, there's lack of alignment, and that's when the message gets diluted. Also because of this lack of a strong point of view that's reinforced throughout the messaging and the marketing assets. How do you find that sweet spot? So actually, it's quite simple. I usually have two simple steps, but this is a critical factor, the critical process that a lot of companies miss, I think. And that's a big part of what I do when I speak with my clients' team. So I typically speak with their founder, their marketing team, sales, product, support, customer success, and I try to get all of these insights. In this case specifically, when it comes to gleaning that point of view, that insight, the founder is probably who you would want to ask these questions to. Sometimes also marketing, just because founder might pass on this narrative to marketing, so you want to speak to them. But these are just simple questions that I ask, and you can also ask internally to get that insight that you need to differentiate and get that strong point of view. So questions like, what makes you crazy about your industry? So sometimes founders come up with a product idea just because they're irritated, they're angry at what the market is doing. They want to see things done differently. They want to change and disrupt the status quo. Another question is, what is wrong in your industry today? So it's another way of phrasing this, but it can be helpful just because it makes you look at things in a different light and a perspective. So what is the industry doing wrong as a whole? And how are we solving? What's the solution first before how are we solving this? And then how are we actually solving this? What are competitors doing wrong? What's the solution? So in this case, looking at other companies in the same niche, same market, same industry, and trying to understand, okay, what are these guys doing wrong that we are actually doing better that solves for our specific insights that we have in the market. Next, similar, but looking at the other side of the coin. So the customers, what are customers doing wrong? What's the solution? Again, here customers might be looking at alternatives, competition, which might be already doing something wrong. By extension, customers are also doing something wrong because they're trying all of these things that are not actually working for them. Or maybe they are trying alternative approaches that are not even tools. Maybe they're, I don't know, either not doing anything, not taking action, or the status quo, it's not even a tool. Maybe it's doing manually. So what are customers doing wrong and what's the solution? What are your customers' biggest pain points and what's the solution? Here we try to dig deeper into the pain points just because we want to make them as vivid as possible in our point of view. We want to show customers that we understand them. And then myths, lies, and misconception within the industry. So what are some lies, some fake news that are circling around in the industry that we want our customers to actually change their mind on? This is a really good list to get a good brainstorming out of your team, so then you can get to that final polished insight. Once you have that, next step is to connect the dots, right? So once you've explained the insight that you have on the market, then you have to kind of show them and remind customers of the common approaches that have been used so far or that are being used currently to solve their problems. So what are the common alternative approaches? After that, let's show them what the perfect scenario is, right? So we talked about here, we linked the solution to each of these. So let's show them in terms of messaging and in terms of creating a picture for them, an ideal, perfect scenario. Still, we don't want to introduce the solution here, in this case, in this narrative, but we want to tell them, after you might have tried all of these alternative approaches, what if there was an ideal scenario where you could solve your problem better, faster, more efficiently? The scenario would look like XYZ, right? So let's create it for them. That's the point where they're actually open to listen to you and you stand out automatically, because the way that you've hooked their attention doesn't come from boasting, using social proof, or attacking the competition. It comes from clearly and uniquely understanding something about your market, about your competition or similar products that very few or no one else understand. That way you've injected yourself into their mind, and you can actually open them up to listen to you, to your point of view, to how you solve their problems uniquely, better, or differently. So I want to show you an example here just to make it a bit more vivid. So this is part of a messaging framework that I created for a client. So the client is a company called Black Tiger. Very early stage. The company had some history, but the current messaging was very early stage because they didn't really market that much. They weren't sure about their positioning messaging, so we did all that work with them. And this is just a short snippet of a section of the messaging framework where we actually go into these specific questions, right, with them. They're a company in the data integration quality space. So basically collecting shit ton of data from their customers, cleaning the data, organizing the data, making sure that any record their customers were looking at was the right, accurate record, not duplicated, and then being able to use that data in their own tools, in their own platforms. We typically start with an overview, then we have, again, as we saw, what is wrong with your realm industry today. So as an overview, this is their narrative. So the perspective that they take, their unique insight that they have in the market, that then helps them connect with customers on the right solution, which is their solution. In their case, they said many teams dread complex data projects because they usually lack a clear path to delivery and completion. Black Tiger helps you complete data projects and deliver faster business value. Take control of your data, complete projects, and finally realize the business value of your data securely, efficiently, and cost-effectively. What is wrong with your realm industry? What's the solution? Existing solutions demand significant expertise as they often require multiple tools, SMEs that must be orchestrated together to meet business needs. There is a more efficient and effective way to see faster results, consistent data, and simplified workflows. Black Tiger Data Integration and Quality Solution works with your existing system, cloud or on-prem, so you stay control of your data. What are your competitors doing wrong? What's the solution? Most large platforms intended for complete enterprise architecture are often too complex and resource-intensive for organizations seeking to address specific, scalable needs or deliver results quickly. Black Tigers combine the best of all worlds, offering just right integration and build quality tools that fit the scale of your specific needs. So while keeping your data secure, fully integrated within your existing infrastructure, we take a simpler approach, right? So we see their unique perspective is that there's already huge complex platforms that do this, but it's overkill, right? So this is their unique perspective. We do it more efficiently, the right way, so you have just right integration for companies who actually don't need to reinvent the wheel. They need to solve a specific, precise data project, right? So that's their unique narrative. Then we go into what customers do. So many customers rely on disconnected tools or custom-built solutions that demand significant manual effort and coordination. Here we take the view of the fragmented approach and how Black Tiger solves it. So what does this look like in practice? This is the old above the fold of their website. You can see the master data platform for early adopters. Are you an early adopter? Manage and monitor data processing from A to Z at the best cost. This was the old messaging. What we created came out of all the messaging work, including the specific point of view and insight, right? So this is what our current website above the fold looks like. Get your data projects done right. Connect directly to your existing system with built-in tools to clean and standardize your data. Keep full control and make business decisions with confidence, all with predictable fixed price licensing. See how it works. So you can see how we translated some of this narrative here into the above the fold value proposition. So this is just a quick example. But again, to recap, how do you move closer and closer to the fourth quadrant, the sweet spot where you have an authentic, unique perspective that also resonates with the market? Ask yourself questions to get to the insight, and then connect the dots with your customers and your market to get to that intimacy, right? Intimacy and understanding. So as you can see, you don't have to choose between being unique or being understood. There's a sweet spot where these things come together. I've seen this work for early stage startups who needed to find their voice, all the way to established companies who needed to reconnect with what made them special in the first place. So How does your company sit right now on this matrix? Are you creating brilliant art projects that no one understands, or are you drifting to sounding just like everyone else? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this helpful and want more frameworks like this, hit subscribe and the notification bell. I'll see you in the next one.